God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Into his presence would I enter now. Into his presence would I enter now. God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Today I learn to give as I receive. Today I learn to give as I receive. God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today and studying A Course in Miracles. We're reading from the original edition here on Friday, June the 23rd of 2023. Lesson 174, God is but love, and therefore so am I. Into his presence would I enter now, which is a review of Lesson 157. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Today I learn to give as I receive, which is a review of Lesson 158. God is but love, and therefore so am I. And I'm Willie from the Ozarks. And let's go take a look now at those lessons, 157 and 158. And let me just read a paragraph or two out of each of them, just to kind of bring your memory back to what it's saying there. Like I told you day before yesterday, you don't have to go back and read these prior lessons, but if you've got the time and you really want to, there's certainly no harm in doing it. You know, I always feel like Jesus, when he put the Course in Miracles together, made it to where it took very little effort. But you do have to have some effort. You got to be vigilant for God and his kingdom. So in 157, into his presence would I enter now, he said, and which we're wanting to look at this with the overview of that you're love. God is but love, and therefore so are you. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Let's look at into his presence would I enter now, paragraph 3. He says, today it will be given you to feel a touch of heaven, though you will return to paths of learning. Yet you have come far enough along the way to alter time sufficiently to rise above its laws and walk into eternity a while. This you will learn to do increasingly, as every lesson, faithfully rehearsed, brings you more swiftly to the holy place and leaves you for a moment to yourself. And then in paragraph 7, as this experience increases, this holy instant, as this experience increases and all goals but this become of little worth, the world to which you will return becomes a little closer to the end of time and a little more like heaven in its ways, a little nearer its deliverance. And you who bring it light will come to see the light more sure, the vision more distinct. In paragraph 9, into Christ's presence will I enter now, serenely unaware of everything except his shining face in perfect love. The vision of his face will stay with you, but there will be an instant which transcends all vision, even this, the holiest. This you will never teach, for you attained it not through learning. Yet the vision speaks of your remembrance of what you knew that instant and will surely know again. And then, you know, in that idea, God is but love, and therefore so am I, we're all supposed to sandwich in the idea for today. Lesson 158, today I learned to give as I receive. Well, let me read a few paragraphs out of it. Let's look at paragraphs 6, 7, and 8, and then we'll jump down at 10 also. 6. Here is the joining of the world of doubt and shadows made with the intangible. Here is a quiet place within the world made holy by forgiveness and by love. Here are all contradictions reconciled, for here the journey ends. Experience, unlearned, untaught, unseen, is merely there. This is beyond our goal, for it transcends what needs to be accomplished. Our concern is with Christ's vision. This we can attain. Our concern is with Christ's vision. Another place he says our concern is with giving welcome to the truth. Christ's vision. Christ's vision has one law. It does not look upon a body and mistake it for the Son whom God created. It beholds a light beyond the body, an idea beyond what can be touched, a purity undimmed by errors, pitiful mistakes, and fearful thoughts of guilt from dreams of sin. It sees no separation, and it looks on everyone, on every circumstance, all happenings, and all events, without the slightest fading of the light it sees. This can be taught and must be taught by all who would achieve it. It requires but the recognition that the world cannot give anything that faintly can compare with this in value, nor set up a goal which does not merely disappear when this has been perceived. And this you give today. See no one as a body. Wow, it's simple enough. See no one as a body. Look beyond it to the eternal. Greet him as the Son of God he is, acknowledging that he is one with you in holiness. And then in paragraph 10, thus do you learn to give as you receive, and thus Christ's vision looks on you as well. The lesson is not difficult to learn if you remember in your brother you but see yourself. The lesson is not difficult to learn if you, as he said, if you remember in your brother you but see yourself. So remember, you but see yourself in your brother. If he be lost in sin, so must you be. If you see light in him, your sins have been forgiven by yourself. Each brother whom you meet today provides another chance to let Christ's vision shine on you and offer you the peace of God. And whether you meet him physically or just in thought, you've met him and see their holiness, the vision of Christ. So today we're going to learn to give as we receive, and into his presence would we enter now. So once again on our lesson, God is but love, and therefore so am I. Into his presence would I enter now. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Today I learn to give as I receive. God is but love, and therefore so am I. All right, let's go look in our text for today, and we're ready for, and we're in chapter 18, the dream and the reality. We're going to pick up in paragraph 49, which is the next section, section 7, dreams and the body. Dreams and the body. And yesterday when I was telling you a little bit about the long and short day onions, I caught it, and I had to leave it and say, hey, we need to look at this closer. Long day onions are actually the northern parts of above the 37th latitude would be considered long day onion varieties. The days are actually, the daylight hours are longer the further north you go, shorter the further south you go. So you want short day onions south, in the American South, for instance, Louisiana, Alabama, those states, you'll want to use the short day onions which only need about 10 to 12 hours of sunlight. As you get further north, you can do the long day onions, because in the summer we have 14 to 16 hours for a long day onion. And a couple examples. So I just wanted to make sure I made that real clear, because I didn't have it clear yesterday in my mind. And anyway, the long day onions are your northern varieties, and your short day onions are your southern varieties. And then you have your day neutral varieties too that you can find. All right, and I'm sitting out here in front of a pecan tree I planted. That tree right there. And that pecan I planted, probably about 6 years ago. It's probably about 6-inch diameter, probably stands up about 35 feet. It's planted in a poor place. It's right edge of my garden. I was having it there beside the house. It's close to the house. The thing is that remember we learned that your carya, all your pecans and hickories and walnuts, produce that juglone. And some plants it's highly toxic to. Well, it turns out that the plant that I've got planted right down here below it is a lilac bush. And the lilac, let's see what it is, a Syringa vulgaris, I think is this species. There's about 25 species. But anyway, they are highly affected by, and I've always wondered why that thing doesn't grow real good and have big blooms. Well, it's planted right underneath a Carya illinoisensis, a pecan, which produces the juglone. So that's why we want to learn these things so we don't make those kind of mistakes. I mean, it's surviving, but doesn't produce the nice big flowers I was expecting and the smells. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the, let's talk just a moment about a pecan. This is, I found in the Gurney's catalog, the hardy pecan. Pecans are usually a southern plant, but this hardy pecan, harvest pecans as far north as Zone 5 and enjoy their buttery flavor. This majestic beauty grows up to 70 feet and its dark green foliage provides ample shade. Plant 2 for pollination, and they sell them as bare roots, zones 5 through 8. Of course, bare root, you would want to plant that in a really protected area. Like I'd plant it in a pot if I got it this time of year, and keep it up close to the house, keep it watered. Exceptionally cold tolerant, the hardy pecan from Gurney's. Also in Gurney's, let me tell you about another strawberry, and this is a June berry called the Jewel. Super sweet flavor. Jewel, heralded for its wonderful flavor, Jewel produces very large, wide fruit and superb quality. Great for fresh eating, with or without sugar. Winter hardy plants are vigorous and consistently produce large crops, zones 4 through 8. Okay, and all these berries are better to eat without sugar. Okay, let's see, what else? Oh, I wanted to tell you about another, what all's going on the earth today. International Rose Wine Day. I thought we had one of those just a few days ago. This is all out of holidaysandobservances.com. International Widow's Day. And widowers, I expect, ought to be today. Let It Go Day. Are you still a widower after you've been, if you get remarried? Let It Go Day. National Eat at a Food Truck Day. National Hydration Day. National Pecan Sandies Day. That's why I want to sit out in front of my pecan. National Pink Day. Pink Flamingo Day. Public Service Day. Runner's Selfie Day. You can go out running and take a selfie. Sat Math Day. SAT Math. That standardized testing. Take Your Dog to Work Day. Typewriting Day. Yeah, it might improve your typewriting today. United Nations Public Service Day. United States Coast Guard Auxiliary Birthday. Okay, and I said I wanted to mention about the strawberry, but I did not say what its genus and species is. And the Jewel is a Fragaria ananassa, but it says PP 5897, and I expect that means plant patent. It could also be patent pending, but I imagine it's plant patent, and it's the Jewel. So be aware that it is plant patented, that Jewel. So if you're selling plants, you'll want to be sure to give the royalty to the proper. I've never done that, so I'm not person to advise you on how. Just want to encourage you to be sure to do it if you end up selling plants. And what else did I want to tell you? Oh, the two examples of the Walla Walla onion is a northern variety. That's what I wanted. We kind of got confused. I got confused yesterday. And then the Gabriella was the example I said yesterday, which is the southern variety. It's the short day version. Remember, south is short, and as you go north in latitude, it's the long day onions. Okay, let's go take a look now at dreams and the body. And we won't read this entire section. We'll read about half of it today, as we're letting the idea in our mind mull over and over. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Into his presence would I enter now. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Today I learned to give as I receive. God is but love, and therefore so am I. And you know, when you're doing your hourly remembrance, you don't have to stop what you're doing. You know, just bring it to your mind. I mean, if you can, it's always good to stop and close your eyes and give them a minute or two, if you can. But rather than not taking the opportunity, if you're busy working, well, at least bring it to your memory. God is but love, and therefore so am I. What was that other lesson? Into his presence would I enter now. God is but love, and therefore so am I. What was that other one? Write it down if it's hard for you to remember. Today I learned to give as I receive. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Just a little example of how you can do it. You don't have to close your eyes, but if you can, do so. Dreams and the body. There is nothing outside you. That is what you must ultimately learn. For it is in that realization that the kingdom of heaven is restored to you. There is nothing outside you. That is what you must ultimately learn. For in it is, that is what you must ultimately learn. For it is in that realization that the kingdom of heaven is restored to you, that nothing is outside you. For God created only this, and he did not depart from it, nor leave it separate from himself. The kingdom of heaven is the dwelling place of the Son of God, who left not his Father and dwells not apart from him. Heaven is not a place nor a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness, and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness, and nothing else within. Perfect oneness. So it is merely an awareness of perfect oneness and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness and nothing else within. What could God give but knowledge of himself? What else is there to give? The belief that you could give and yet get something else, something outside yourself, has cost you the awareness of heaven and the loss of your identity. And you have done a stranger thing than you yet realize. You have displaced your guilt to your bodies from your minds. You have displaced your guilt to your bodies from your minds. Yet a body cannot be guilty, for it can do nothing of itself. You who think you hate your bodies deceive yourself. You hate your minds, for guilt has entered into them, and they would remain separate, which they cannot do. Wow. So once you believe in guilt, well, then you've already divided yourself from what you see as guilty. And that you can't really do, but you can believe you can and lose your identity, or lose the awareness of your identity, just like you lose your awareness of heaven and being in it. Minds are joined, bodies are not. Minds are joined, bodies are not. Only by assigning to the mind the properties of the body does separation seem to be possible. And it is mind that seems to be fragmented and private and alone. Its guilt, which keeps it separate, is projected to the body, which suffers and dies because it is attacked, to hold the separation in the mind and let it not know its identity. Mind cannot attack, but it can make fantasies and direct the body to act them out. Yet it is never what the body does that seems to satisfy. Unless the mind believes the body is actually acting out its fantasies, it will attack the body by increasing the projection of its guilt upon it. Paragraph 52. In this, the mind is clearly delusional. Let's read the last sentence again. Unless the mind believes the body is actually acting out its fantasies, it will attack the body by increasing the projection of its guilt upon it. In this, the mind is clearly delusional. It cannot attack, but it maintains it can and uses what it does to hurt the body to prove it can. The mind cannot attack, but it can deceive itself, and this is all it does when it believes it has attacked the body. It can project its guilt, but it will not lose it through projection. And though it clearly can misperceive the function of the body, it cannot change its function from what the Holy Spirit establishes it to be. The body was not made by love, yet love does not condemn it and can use it lovingly, respecting what the Son of God has made and using it to save him from illusions. Oh, the power of God to take things that we made out of fear and separation and guilt and use it lovingly. To do what? To actually bring us to the realization that love is all there is. Let's read it again. The body was not made by love, yet love does not condemn it and can use it lovingly, respecting what the Son of God has made and using it to save him from illusions. So he respects what we have made in fear and helps it, uses it to save us from illusions. The power of love. 53. Would you not have the instruments of separation reinterpreted as means for salvation and used for purposes of love? Would you not welcome and support the shift from fantasies of vengeance to release from them? Your perception of the body can clearly be sick, but project not this upon the body, for your wish to make destructive what cannot destroy can have no real effect at all. Again on that sentence. For your wish to make destructive what cannot destroy can have no real effect at all. In other words, you can't make your mind be destructive because mind's in oneness and harmony. That's its reality. Only in a dream can it be a source of guilt and attack and destructive. So, for you wish to make, your perception of the body can clearly be sick, but project not this upon the body. For your wish to make destructive what cannot destroy can have no real effect at all. And what God created is only what he would have it be, being his will. You cannot make his will destructive. You can make fantasies in which your will conflicts with his, but that is all, making a fantasy where your will is opposed to God. Paragraph 54. It is insane to use the body as the scapegoat for guilt, directing its attack and blaming it for what you wished it to do. It is impossible to act out fantasies, for it is still the fantasies you want. And they have nothing to do with what the body does. It does not dream of them, and they but make it a liability where it could be an asset. For fantasies have made your body your enemy, weak, vulnerable, and treacherous, worthy of the hate which you invest in it. How has this served you? You have identified with this thing you hate, the instrument of vengeance, and the perceived source of your guilt. You have done this to a thing that has no meaning, proclaiming it to be the dwelling place of the Son of God, and turning it against him. 55. This is the host of God that you have made, and neither God nor his most holy Son can enter an abode which harbors hate, and where you have sown the seeds of vengeance, violence, and death. Wow, neither God nor his most holy Son, which is us, can enter an abode which harbors hate, and where you have sown the seeds of vengeance, violence, and death. This thing you made to serve your guilt stands between you and other minds. The minds are joined, but you do not identify with them. So our minds are joined, but there's something stands between us, and that's the guilt that separated us off from our identity and from the kingdom of heaven. Not in reality, but in, as far as perception's concerned. So the thing you made to serve your guilt stands between you and other minds. The minds are joined, but you do not identify with them. You see yourself locked in a separate prison, removed and unreachable, incapable of reaching out as being reached. As you see yourself locked in a separate prison, removed and unreachable, incapable of reaching out as being reached. You hate this prison you have made and would destroy it, but you would not escape from it, leaving it unharmed without your guilt upon it. And the last paragraph we'll read today, 56, yet only thus can you escape. The home of vengeance is not yours. The place you set aside to house your hate is not a prison, but an illusion of yourself. The body is a limit imposed on the universal communication, which is an eternal property of mind, but the communication is internal. It is not made up of different parts which reach each other. Mind reaches to itself. It does not go out. Within itself, it has no limits, and there is nothing outside it. It encompasses everything. It encompasses you entirely, you within it, and it within you. There is nothing else, and anywhere or ever. Anywhere or ever. There's nothing but mind. Okay, be sure to do your 2 longer practice periods, once in the morning and in the evening, and then throughout the day, do your daily remembrance of this. God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Into his presence would I enter now. Into his presence would I enter now. God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Today I learn to give as I receive. Today I learn to give as I receive. God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Into his presence would I enter now. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Today I learn to give as I receive. God is but love, and therefore so am I.